We cannot prove it by scientific means. But very often, very frequently, we feel that is a fact. For example, there are many, many cases. I'm not talking about the study cases which have people read about it. But you find those who are teachers teaching schools and colleges, mostly in schools, you find suddenly a student, maybe coming from a very backward village, maybe his parents may not be well educated, suddenly demonstrating some unique, extraordinary skills in mathematics, in physics, and any other subjects. In some cases, it can be explained because the student is receiving tuitions, external help from his own parents who are teachers, professional teachers, or maybe receiving tuition, special tuition from hired teachers who go to their home and give lessons. But there are cases where young students coming from absolutely illiterate backgrounds, literally ignorant, incapable of studying the subjects of their own, but suddenly catching and comprehending, understanding complex lessons in mathematics and physics and any other subjects. Kind of instinctive skill which cannot be explained in terms of the tools of modern educational psychology. Now, how do you explain that? In the earlier cases, you can easily explain because the student is receiving lessons from his own parents or maybe hired teachers. But in this case, he's not getting any external help. For the first time, he's hearing a lesson. This is very often, frequently happening in many, many places. So the student has some acquaintance with the topic that is taught for the first time in his classroom. Could be mathematics, in music, in art, literature, and so on. Well, historically speaking, the first real conversation on reincarnation took place between Buddha and his father when Buddha was just departing his palace, going away from his palace in search of enlightenment. Before that, if you believe in some sources of maybe historians who have written books on early Christianity, there are views that the early Greek mystery religions and even Christianity did believe in reincarnation and the doctrine of karma right up to 325 BC. This is the year in which the first Council of Nicaea took place. That was the time when Christianity was declared as the national religion of the Roman Empire by Constantine, who actually used that as a political tool for consolidating his imperial power in ancient Rome. But before that, there are many sources, including Plato, one of the greatest philosophical minds of Western intellectual tradition, maybe the greatest belonging to the pre-Christian era. So there are many, many sources. And also you find, if you look at the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, which are much more ancient than Buddhism, in fact, which actually was the source of Buddhism, as Buddha himself demonstrated in the Sutta Pitaka. That is, Dhammapada is a part of Sutta Pitaka, one of the three Pitakas, where Buddha literally translated the 18 verses of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita from 55th to 72nd, which actually gives a list of the characteristics of enlightened persons, Siddhaprakya Lakshanas. It's a different story. Now, I want to go right to Buddha's times. Now, it is said that Buddha, of course, as you know, Buddha was born in a royal family, and his father somehow got the impression that this boy may become a great emperor, a great monarch, or maybe a great wandering monk. That's what Buddhist sources say. Lalita Vistara, Ashwagosha's works, and other books tell you that an astrologer visited the court of Suddhodana, who was the father of Buddha, and predicted that this newborn boy will one day become a great monk or maybe a great monarch. So Buddha's father wanted his son to be a great monarch rather than a monk, a great monk. So he made sure that the little boy will grow up in his palace without any acquaintance with the darker side of human life, like poverty, starvation, ill health, sickness, death, old age, all these problems which are unavoidable in human existence. Buddha was never allowed to become acquainted with this idea that one day one may die, or one may become old or sick. So Buddha was taught in total ignorance about these things. Then one day he was almost 28 years old. You can imagine a young man, 28 years old, who is confined to his palace, not allowed to come outside the palace and see people living in different conditions of old age and sickness and poverty and so on. So one day he was being taken for a ride by his charioteer in the small town called Lumbini, the capital of Buddha's kingdom. Suddhodana was the name of his father, who was a monarch, a king of a very small kingdom. So, and as he was taken along these streets, he had three visions. First he saw a sick man, then an old man, and a dead body being taken to cremation ground. And according to some other sources, there are different versions in Tibetan sources and also in the books mentioned in the Sanskrit biographies, Lalita Vistara, Buddha Vishaya, and so on. There are quite a few books. So different sources give different interpretations. But the basic storyline is the same. So according to some sources, Buddha went out, was taken for a ride on 3 occasions. And according to some sources, it was just one occasion. Anyway, Buddha first saw a sick man, an old man, and then a dead body being taken to the cremation ground. He was shocked and surprised. Then he also saw somebody else who was sitting there on the footsteps of a temple, a Hindu temple, a serene-looking monk who was totally unconcerned about these problems of old age and death and all this that afflict the human body. Anyway, so Buddha realized that there are certain questions that he need to get an answer for. And then he had a conversation with his father. And the father, of course, this was before he left his palace, because he actually walked out at midnight. That's the real story. But before that, he had some conversations with his father, according to Tibetan sources. And his father, of course, debated this question, not about renunciation, but about the problems of human life. Then Buddha once said, well, if you can guarantee that I will never become old, I will never become sick, and I will never die, and all this palace, comforts, all these wonderful things will last forever. If you can guarantee, I understand you are right. Otherwise, no. But his father could not convince him, obviously, that old age, death and sickness will never come to you. And then Buddha, of course, he contemplated over this question, and one night he left his palace, and he walked maybe around 1,200 miles from Lumbini to Bodh Gaya. That's very close to Patna, a city in the state of Bihar in India. And he sat under a tree. It's called Bodhi tree. You can still see what they claim to be a relic of the ancient tree. And he chanted, it seems, according to Buddha's Sanskrit biographies, Asughosa and others, according to them, they say, Ihasane sushyadu me shariram Dagasti mamsam cha vilayam cha yatu aprapya siddhim bhugu janma durlabham naivasanat kaya madaschalishyade. Buddha's strong vow. Let my body perish. Let my body be reduced to bones and marrow. I won't get up from the seat. I won't give up my pursuit of spiritual enlightenment before and without getting this enlightenment. And that's how he became Buddha. And as he practiced meditation, according to historians, no less than 543 life cycles, his own previous life cycles, went through his mind in a flash. Of course, he meditated for many, many years. He was 35 years when he got enlightenment. He was 28 years when he left his palace. So, apparently around 7 years. And what happened was, he, in context, said, according to Tibetan sources, he said something that is actually stated in the Mahabharata. Buddha said, this body will one day become old, because he saw an old man sitting in the street corner when his charioteer was taking him around the city of Lumbini. One day, everyone can become old. One day we may become sick, and one day we will die. This is a reality of human existence. But still the world doesn't pay heed to this reality. Remember, Buddhism is certainly not a negative philosophy. Absolutely no. Buddhism is not a life-negating, world-negating escapism. People sometimes will argue that Buddha was a pessimist, the very opposite of it. So spirituality and the realization of the fundamental impermanence of empirical things will not make you a pacifist, will not make a skeptical, a cynical person. It makes you wiser, more intelligent in dealing with this world. And that may even help you to live better, healthier, and happier. Now what happened? Surprisingly, what Buddha uttered himself, exclaimed, is stated in the Mahabharata, in Vanaparva. In Mahabharata, there is a very important episode which we discussed on some previous occasions, called Yaksha Prasna. A mystic celestial being, you may call it even an angel, like the angels of the Bible, appeared before Yudhishthira and put questions to him. I don't go into the details of the story. If you want, you can ask questions during interaction. And what is the most mysterious, the most inexplicable, indescribable thing in this world? The answer that Yudhishthira, the eldest of the 5 Pandava brothers, the answer he gave was, Ahanya bhudani gechanti iha yamalayam seshaga sthavaram icchanti kim ascharyam atahparam. Every day, every minute, every moment, many animals, insects, bacteria, human beings all die. It is the most inescapable thing. If you can be certain about anything, it is this. And this happens every day in front of us, before our open eyes. But still, we have this wrong notion. We are living under the delusion that we are going to live forever. Now, some psychologists, what we call this very interesting, eye-catching, captivating idea of positive psychology, which means you should always think everything is wonderful. Everything is happy. All wonderful, everything is happy. Well, people maybe these professional motivational speakers can have a good bank balance because of this. Apart from this, this is the opposite of truth. So instead of being positive, we should be realistic psychology. So what Buddha placed before the world is not a kind of cynical, skeptical way of life, or ideal of life. Rather, a very positive, very intelligent, a wise man's approach to life. Everything in this world is good, but don't ever believe that it is going to be eternal. When we realize this, what happens is, we become more intelligent. When we fight for money, when we fight for wealth, for power, we can remember this power is not going to last for long. It doesn't mean that you should withdraw from your struggle for status. No, you can work hard to get a promotion, to make more money, to build a bigger home. Absolutely, fully justified. In fact, it is a duty. There are statements in the Hindu law books, which are called smritis, that a grihastha, meaning a householder, who has wife and children and obligations and duties in this world, who neglects his fundamental dharma or duty of making money, wealth, for the preservation of his family, an householder who does not work hard to generate wealth, he is an adharmi, he is a practitioner of adharma, he is following the wrong ideal. So it is sacred spiritual responsibility to generate wealth for an householder. But while working hard for this, he should remember this is not enough. This is not going to give us lasting peace and happiness. It is going to be non-existent. It's going to vanish one day. This is what Buddha actually taught. That's a wisdom that he exclaimed when he got his enlightenment. The same idea that is found in the Mahabharata, which is in fact 2,900 years older than Buddha's time. Buddha, the same great idea he articulated in his own language. People believe that they are not going to get old, they will never fall sick, and they will never die. It's an absolute mystery. It's a reality. Now the question arises, what is this process of reincarnation? We are talking about death. Now, Hindu philosophy or Vedanta tells you that death is not a full stop, it is only semicolon. Sometimes this can be explained if you use the parable of let's say a train journey. Suppose let's say you're going from San Francisco to New York or Boston and beyond that. Apparently make it 3-4 days to reach there. And on the way you may get down, maybe after 12 hours, 15 hours, you may get down in Salt Lake City, and like that you may proceed, Chicago and so on. So on the way, you find some of your fellow passengers will get off the train. They will get off different stations. They may not accompany you all the way right up to New York or Boston. So we don't think that they are disappearing. Similarly, suppose you are going to New York from here, you have a layover in Chicago, you take another plane. The transition is only a temporary arrangement. Again, you take another plane and continue your journey. Like that, the journey itself is like a journey on train. People get off, they get down from the train at different stations, but they are all moving in one direction towards one destination. Nobody is going to desert the train. They may catch another train at some other point. So in Hindu Puranas, Hindu philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, it says, whatever we do in this life, with our senses, will create some impressions, some samskaras, some tendencies, some characteristics. And when we are born again, we are born with those characteristics. So you may see an object with these eyes, with our eyes in this life. And that experience will create some samskaras, what we call tendencies, in some, let's say, likes and dislikes, using a very gross kind of language. Whatever we experience can create some leftover, what we call vrittis, vasanas, samskaras, tendencies, impressions. Those impressions will be left behind when one day we die, when we become 100 years old. This body will be pushed to the tube. But then those samskaras which are created, generated in this life will accompany you when you are born again. Now what happens is, when you are born again, of course, it's a new body. It's not the old body. So one may ask this question, how can these old samskaras work with the new body? This body will change, the samskaras are deeper, impressions, tendencies are deeper. They will be transferred to the next tool of life, that is body. In fact, this is discussed in so many places, but one of the most fundamental discussion in ancient philosophical literature, it comes in Shankaracharya's commentary and the Brahma Sutras. So I want to connect this idea with the original source, because the Brahma Sutra is an analytical study of the Upanishads. And the Upanishads predate Christian era by almost 5,000 years. Now, there is one sutra. Sutra means a pithy statement. It is called Tadandar Privatto Remkhadi Sambarishaktaha Prasna Nirupanabhyam. It's a complicated formation of Sanskrit words. So, but I want, later some of you will listen and you can see the text. It comes in the Brahma Sutra, Shankaracharya's commentary, 2nd chapter. Every chapter has got 4 sections, padas, the first one. It is called Tadandara Pradipatya Adhiharanam. Adhiharanam means a section dealing with this mystery of reincarnation. So the sutra is this. Tadandara Pradipattu, Shankaracharya quotation is, his commentary is, Dehandar Pradipattu, Remkadi Gacchati. When you continue your journey, after leaving the old body behind, and we acquire a new body, then what happens is, you take a new body complex. Samparishoktaha prasnarupanabhyam. You'll be accompanied by, when you leave this body behind and adopt a new body, you are not going with an empty bank balance. You are going with a checkbook and a fountain pen, because you have got money in the bank. What is the checkbook? The checkbook is the impressions, the samskaras, the tendencies you have created. I can give you an example. Anyone who goes to a church when a wonderful spiritual music is going on. I'm just giving this in the context of Western Christian cultural tradition or a Jewish cultural tradition. Or if in Hindu tradition, if you go to Hindu temple, some ritual is going on, some sublime Vedic music is going on. You may feel, oh, this is wonderful, going on, fine. You may not know even the meaning of the words. I myself cannot understand the words of the music of Bach or Beethoven. But I can see there is something sublime about it. without knowing anything about Western music. And there are millions of Americans and Europeans who enjoy the sanctity and sublimity of Vedic sound, which they don't understand one word of. They don't understand meaning at all. Because music has got two dimensions. One is the audible, which is gross, then inaudible, the subtle. Suppose you are reciting a wonderful poem, maybe a sublime song in one language. There are people who can understand the language in which the song is written. And there are those who do not know the language in which it is written. But those who have got a musical bent of mind, they can connect with the musical dimension of the song, even though they don't understand the word meaning of that lyric. So that musical dimension that transcends the word dimension is spiritual. The word dimension is literary. It is language, syntax, dictionary. But the musical dimension is spiritual. It is universal. That's why maybe I have seen this happening in India, that people play music when they are making the cows. I'm not sure if our veterinary doctors will agree with me, but I've seen this happening, and many of you may have seen this happening. Because the musical dimension has got an effectiveness, a connectivity that goes beyond even the human being, that goes beyond the word meaning of the songs or the music. Now what happens is, according to this sutra, Tadantaraparivattu Remkhadi Samparishaktaha Prasanaruphanapya. Shankaracharya writes in his commentary, Tadantaraparivattu Dekhantaraparivattu Dekhabijaihi Sukshbhudaihi Bhuda Sukshmaihi Samparishaktaha Remkhadi Gachadi Iti Avagantavyam. What the great commentator Shankaracharya writes is this. When a jiva, an individual soul, travels into another life for taking another body-mind complex, what happens is accompanied by Bhuda Sukshmaihi Samparishakta. Bhuda Sukshma means whatever impressions, tendencies, likes and dislikes that you have gathered in this life. You have done a lot of work in music, art, literature, philosophy, and so on. When you are born again, what happens is, at some point, if you happen to learn a music, listen to a music going on, your mind will move in that direction. If you don't have any previous samskaras or impressions coming from previous life, the music will be a terrible punishment for you. You can just imagine, let's say some parents, maybe professional musicians, may have children who have absolutely no interest in music. If they drag the child to learn music, that child will declare a war upon music. Because learning music for a child who is totally disinterested in music, who may be interested in philosophy instead of music, if you force a person to do something which is totally in total contrast to his natural instinctive forces, previous samskaras, then that person will not be able to make any progress in that area. Unless we have some tendencies, what you call samskaras in Sanskrit, coming from previous life cycles, unless we have something to support, we won't be able to continue our education or a pursuit beyond a limit. So what it means is, life is not just one accident, it is a continuous journey. This has been described in a very, very elaborate manner in many, many books, in the Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya and so on, these Upanishads, and the great commentators, Shankaracharya's commentary. But in the Bhagavad Gita, it's in the form of a dialogue, a teacher and a student. Arjuna is putting question his teacher. Simple question. He says, for example, well, I have done some spiritual practice in my life. I didn't succeed much. I didn't make much progress. So, what will happen to me? Krishna's answer is, basic to be in just a few words, is whatever little spiritual practice you have done in this life, it will be put in your account. It will help you in continuing your spiritual journey, in evolving in spiritual life beyond, further in next life. Because when you are born again, you will be born with all these samskaras. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labhade pauradekikam yatadeja tato bhuya samsiddho kurudantana. This particularly comes in the 6th chapter of the Gita. So when you are born again, with these samskaras, let's say you have done a lot of wonderful things in this life. But then you feel you have not done enough. Aidis saddhayopedo yoga charidamanasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. This is a question put to Lord Krishna by Arjuna in the 6th chapter. In answer to this, Krishna says, when you are born again, what happens is, suppose you are walking in front of Vedanta society or any spiritual institution, you will have a natural tendency, you will be drawn towards that place. You will have a natural instinctive attraction to the place. And again, after going there, you feel at home there. If you drag people into Vedanta society or a church or any spiritual place, people who have absolutely no interest in spiritual life, he will never forgive you. Because that is a punishment beyond his tolerance. He may be a very broad-minded man, but he will never forgive you if you bring him into something in which he is totally no interest. No interest at all. But if you have some interest, he will never forget you. So what it means is, we feel at home when we have those samskaras already deposited in our mental system. So in the Gita says something very interesting. There are two types of people. This is purely from the standpoint of spiritual evolution. There are those who want to do good things, do charity, helping others, but also want a fine job, a lot of money, wealth, status, everything, wonderful. Such people will be born in families where they will have everything that they can enjoy because they have deserved it. They have done a lot of good things in your previous life. It may be charity. You'll be born in families where you have fairly enough money. Or you have prayed to God because you are a poor man. Maybe so you prayed. I can give you an example. Right now in India, something very interesting is going on. I just had accidentally happened to know about it. Some IT professionals are going around and what they are doing is something interesting. They want to find out some small little kids, boys and girls, who have extraordinary skills, kind of genius, for playing classical music, the great devotional, spiritual songs composed by great saints and sages in the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th centuries. And there are some children who learn this. And by the time they reach the 5th or 6th year, they sing in a way that classical musicians who have practiced for 25, 30, 40 years cannot sing. You can see that. I think that can be a wonderful demonstration of this truth, the fact of reincarnation. So what happens is, if you are born with such strong tendencies, and then if it also happens that you are born in a family where there is some opportunity for you to get some help to promote, to go further in that specific chosen area, then you make phenomenal progress, which others, normal persons cannot do. And Gita says, Prapya punyakrutam logan Ushitam Shashwati Samaha Suchinam Simadam Geke Yoga Prashto Vijayate. This is very interesting. Suppose you have done a lot of spiritual practices in this life, charity, everything, but still you have a lot of desire to enjoy more, then by the force of by the merit of the spiritual disciplines you practice in this life, you will be born in a family where all these things are available, you can enjoy further and more. Suppose you are somebody, let's say, in terms of a CC, man of renunciation, and still some distance to go, then you'll be born in a family where parents, your circumstances will promote you, help you to move further in your own spiritual life. So if you are a great meditator, you are like all-renouncing spiritual seeker, still some distance to go, then that's why, Athava yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam edarhi durlabhadaram loke jarma yadidrisham. Athava yoginam eva kule bhavati durlabha. Yogina means people who have done a lot of spiritual disciplines in one life, they'll be born in families where the parents, the relatives, or those whom they happen to meet in their life will be spiritually inclined. So, what happens is you will find it very easy to move further in spiritual life. So, what really happens is Purabhyasena teneva hrideshi apashopi saga jijnasi rabhayogasya sabda brahmadi vartade. Purabhyasena means by the strength, by the force of whatever you have done in your previous life. What it means is, suppose you have done a lot of wonderful things in previous life, living good life, helping people, doing charity, meditation, and being basically a good human being. That is the Purabhyasa, your previous life. Then what happens is, you'll be born in a family where you'll be helpless, you'll be forced to do good things. Because if you try, tomorrow you decide, well, I'm going to tell a lie, you cannot tell a lie. Struggle, you cannot tell a lie. There, of course, unfortunately, there are people who take a long decision, I'm going to tell a truth. They can never tell a truth. So the opposite examples also can be found. So what happens is, if we go on doing good things, it may be our own spiritual practices, or maybe good activities, good charitable activities, activities that fill with compassion, kindness to our fellow human beings or other members of the animal kingdom. What happens is, we'll be born in a family, in a set of circumstances, you'll be able to go further. There will be obstacles. Certainly there will be obstacles. There will be problems. Because you are not born as a Shankara or a Buddha or a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or a Christ. You are born with a mixed bag. What is mixed bag? Lot of good samskaras, lot of samskaras which are not so very good. That's why we feel conflict when we try to do good things. People who are greedy who want to do some charity. So if they really want to draw a check, somehow there is a reluctance, maybe tomorrow. So there is a conflict between two sets of samskaras, good and bad. We are born with a mixed bag. So there is a way to increase the quantity of good samskaras, good impressions, by doing more good things, doing more charity, by anything. And in Vedanta, there is an interesting thing. You need not believe in God. You need not go to any temple or a church. I am spiritual, I am not religious, perfectly okay. But try to become a good human being. That is spirituality. Actually, there's a very interesting, unique feature of Vedanta is, Vedanta accepts, accommodates religion, different traditions, theology, philosophy, rituals, temples, churches, absolutely wonderful. But suppose there are people who believe, well, I believe in spirituality, I don't believe in religion. Okay, you need not go to a temple or a church, but try to live like a good human being, like Buddha did. He never believed in God. But apparently he was one of the greatest spiritual human beings that we ever produced. So Vedanta tells you that by doing good things, good actions, we are actually generating fund, spiritual wealth, which will be put in our account, in our spiritual bank. When we are born again, we are born with this fountain pen and the checkbook. It's not one chance, but it's a continuous flow. So that's one unique feature of the reincarnation. Whatever we do will remain somewhere invisible. It's called Jivatma or individual soul. One may ask the question, what is this thing that carries these old impressions? One can never see that. So, if you want, you can see people who are born with some strong, good instincts. The instinct is one word. It's not an adequate word, but still comes very close, a good approximation for samskaras. Samskaras are these inborn tendencies. It is not deliberate. It is not planned. Rather, what we instinctively do, that's an expression of a samskara. Without effort, without any deliberation, without any decision-making process, what we naturally think and feel and do, that is the best expression of our instinct or samskaras. These samskaras are coming from another source, not from this life. So, those samskaras will take us in one direction. And anyone can, even without believing in religion or God, can continuously do good things. You find these samskaras which are deposited in our bank balance, a huge wealth that we inherit when we take a new body. That is the mystery of reincarnation in Vedanta. So you are never late and nothing is lost. Anyone can start a new life this moment today. But you don't become a Buddha today and now. No. If somebody did it now, today, it is absolute gibberish. If somebody tells you can be a Buddha today, it's absolute gibberish. You can be a Buddha later, not in this life, sometime in future. Absolutely correct. But you cannot become a Buddha right now. Swami Vivekananda used this word. Some of these words need a lot of explanation. Swamiji explained in his own words later during his conversations with great disciples, mostly household disciples like Sarachandra Chakravarti, Swami Shishya Sampadi in Bengali, translated in English. So this question is put to Swamiji. What Swamiji says, what I meant was this. There's a potential for you too, to become a Buddha. Not now and today, maybe several life cycles later. But you can begin your journey right now, today, by taking a decision. Doing good things, thinking good things, speaking good things. Basically, by becoming a good human being, we can help ourselves to evolve further and further and become spiritual enlightenment. This is the implication of what Swamiji said, when he said that you can be a Buddha, everyone can be Buddha right now, today. So that should be properly understood. So this interesting doctrine of reincarnation is something that many people feel to be true, but not willing to accept it or maybe proclaim it. But there are many things in this world, that's more scientific than electricity or theory of relativity or theory of gravitation, which can be proved. But the doctrine of reincarnation, law of karma, can never be scientifically demonstrated in a laboratory, but we feel intensely within. So occasionally we get a flash of the truth of these ideas in our life experiences. So I was trying to give just a bird view of this very interesting subject in my own way. Of course, we discussed this on earlier platforms, not in this manner, in a different perspective. So thank you, namaskar. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Vakshojapumham Sudhapurnakumbham Prasadavalambam Prapunyavalambam Sadasetubimbam Sadanoshtabimbam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Katakshe Dayadram Kare Jnanamudram Kalabhir Vinidram Kalapai Subhadram Purastrim Vinidram Purastungabhadram Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Nalamankaphalam lasatjnanalolam Swabhaktaikapalam ashasrikapulam Karetyakshabalam kanatpratalolam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Susimantabenim Drishanirjitenim Ramakiravanim Namatvajrapanim Sudamantarasam Mudachintavenim Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasramadambam Sushanta Sudeham Drigante Kachantam Lasatsa Latangin Anantam Achintam Smatam Tapase Sarga Purvastitam Tam Bhaje Sharadam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadam Ajasram Madambam Renge Turenge Mrigendre Khagendre Marale Madeve Mahokshe Dirudam Mahatyanavamyam Sada Samarupam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Jwalat Kanti Bonnim Jagat Mohanangim Bhajan Manasambho Jasubhranta Bringing Nijastotra Sangita Nita Prabhangi Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Samambhojanetram Jasam Pujamanam Lasat Mandahasa Prabhavaktra Chindham Chala Chanchala Chanutatanka Karnam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam Bhavam Bhojanetram Ajasram Pudmanam Lasat Mandahasa Prabhavaktra Chinham Chala Chanchala Tatanka Karnam Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam 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 Bhaje Sharadambam Ajasram Madambam
Now we have announcements. The subject for next Sunday is Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi and her times. This talk will be given by Prabhupada Prajna Prana. Child care is provided during our Sunday lectures. On Sunday evenings there is an online class at 6 p.m. on the foundational text of Indian philosophy. The Zoom and YouTube links are available on our website homepage as well as in the monthly email bulletin. You can see the website homepage through Google, savedanta.org or just Vedanta Society, San Francisco. On Wednesday evenings, we have Vespers with meditation at 7:30 p.m. in this auditorium. There will be no Friday evening class at the Old Temple this week. class will resume on the following Friday on September 27th. So just remember, the next Friday Bhagavad Gita class will be on September 27th. You and your friends are cordially invited to attend all of the services. After this lecture, there will be a Q&A, question and answer session, and you are most welcome to come to the Vivekananda Hall. And if you have any discussion, any questions to be clarified on what we discussed just now, you are most welcome. Thank you. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.